by the next speaker. And he has over 30 years of experience in public relations and communications. He's played a central role in the creation and development of Rudder Finn, where he served as the co-CEO until 2011. Under his leadership, Finn Partners has been ranked as one of the top 10 independent and fastest growing PR firms in the world. You know who I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Peter Finn, CEO and founding partner of Finn Partners. And Peter's going to be talking on the 7 golden rules of value-driven leadership driving growth and reputation. Welcome, Peter. I'm going to ask you to remove this. Let me remove this.
Hello, everybody. This is my first time to Praxis. It's very impressive. I know only a few people in the audience, and I look forward to getting to know more of you in the years ahead. Before I talk about the 7 rules that I've learned, I want to talk a little bit about my personal history. So the speaker who introduced me was very kind and said I've been in the agency world for more than 30 years. Well, it's more than 45 years, actually. And I've learned a few things about values-based leadership along the way, and I'm going to share a little bit of my background, and then I'll go into some of those golden rules. So first, let me say that I never intended to go into the PR business. I didn't study communications in college, and I never got a master's. I never got a degree, an MBA, a degree in business. My father, David Finn, was one of the pioneers in the PR industry, and he and his brother-in-law, Bill Rudder, started a firm in 1948 that turned into one of the leading PR firms. And when I finished getting my master's degree in literature, I had been planning to teach literature at the college level and decided not to do that, and I wasn't sure what I would do. And my father said to me, well, do you want to come work at Rudder Finn? And I said, well, I really don't know that I'm interested in public relations, and I really don't want to work for my father, but let's agree I'll do it for a year, and after a year I'm going to leave. As long as we both agree to that, it's fine. Well, it's 46 years later, and I never did end up leaving. So one of the things that surprised me as year after year passed in business is I learned that there were very successful business people who were aggressive and believed that winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. And also that the ends justify the means. It didn't matter what they had to do. That all that mattered was money, and they would do whatever they needed to make it. And if they had to step on other people, that was okay. It drove me crazy. I couldn't stand that. I knew I couldn't behave that way. So the question was, could I be successful in business without doing that? Well, over time, it turned out I was actually very good at my job, and I ended up leading my prior agency with one of my sisters. We became co-CEOs. I ended up owning the agency equally with 3 sisters. I don't know if any of you have worked with siblings, but it's not easy. And we agreed on some things and we disagreed on many things. I first started to think about the possibility of launching Finn Partners around the year 2000. And my father didn't want me to do that. But after years of discussion and negotiation, we finally all agreed it'd be best for everybody if we would split the company and each go our separate ways. So I was able to launch Finn Partners in December of 2011, and I started with about 150 people in 6 offices. So we were not starting from scratch, but we were much smaller than the combined agency had been before the split. One of the things that some of my former colleagues said to me is that nice guys finish last. And they said to me, or they said behind my back to each other, Finn Partners will be out of business in 6 months. And I knew they were saying that, and I didn't know. I worried. I knew I had to do something different. And I was at a crossroads. I was starting with 24 million in fees, 150 people, and the business could go in different directions. It could be stable, it could slowly decline, or it could grow. And I've seen agencies that have been successful and gone in each of those different paths. And I didn't know what was going to happen. But when I launched Finn Partners, I decided that I was going to be driven by some core values that were different from what I had experienced in my prior agency. And you probably can't read this. I don't know if you can, so I'll read it to you. This is our core vision, and every day for the past 12 years, I've been working to try and make this come true. So what we want to be is a world-class, best place to work, global agency with a heart and a conscience that any major client in key markets around the world would be proud to have as a partner. Now, I think the only part of that statement that was true when we launched was the heart and the conscience. And I am not aware of any other global agency that has as part of its vision statement that it wants to be an agency with a heart and a conscience. What this means to me, the heart means how we treat our people, and also how we treat our colleagues and how we view the world. And the conscience means the accounts that we're willing to take on and the work that we do. But we've worked hard for 12 years, and today we are much more of a world-class agency than we were when we started. And being the best place to work agency is aspirational. We're always working on that. And we were recently we've been named Best Place to Work multiple times, and earlier this year we were named Best Large Agency to Work for by Provoke Media, and also Best Agency of any size to work for. And what Paul Holmes said at the announcement is that usually the smaller agencies win Best Agency of any size, and he said this is the first time a large agency won Best Place to Work of any size. Being an agency that any major client in key markets around the world be proud to have as a partner, that's a big job that never ends. That means that we need to be really good in lots of different sectors, lots of specialties, and we need to be really good at those things in lots of markets all around the world. That's what we've been working on. We've made a lot of progress. We have a lot more work to do. So one of our core values related to having a heart and conscience is to work hard and play nice. When I launched Finn Partners, I wrote a letter to the 150 people who joined me to explain why we were starting a new agency. They had all been working with me at my prior agency. Their leaders decided to come with me, and their teams were now part of Finn Partners. It's a long letter, runs several pages. This is just a part of the letter. I'm sure you can't read it, so I'll read it for you. So top of mind for me in planning the launch of Finn Partners was to create a firm in which every member of the staff is treated with respect. So many people believe that business is a contact sport. They believe that if someone gets in your way, the right solution is to knock that person down. A few years ago, I had a conversation with a competitor. His boss had a reputation of being ruthless. I said to him that his boss apparently didn't know how to play nice. His response was, "Peter, you know as well as I do, you don't get ahead in business by playing nice." I completely disagreed and told him so. We were having drinks together. We quickly ended our drinks. When I first started to think about the launch of Finn Partners, I said to myself, my mantra would be work hard and play nice. Each of the 150 people who joined me to launch Finn Partners got this letter. Every employee who's joined us since then has also gotten the letter, and it talks about all of our values. So everybody is very familiar with what's important to us. Everybody at Finn Partners knows the phrase work hard and play nice, and it's up on the wall in the reception area of most of our offices. So this is my father, David Finn, pioneer in the PR industry, and he wrote a book in the mid-1960s called The Corporate Oligarch. It was all about high-level business executives. And he ended the book with saying the following thing. Of this I am sure, if the corporate oligarch does not, in the years ahead, create a new sense of purpose in his business, he will not be able to commit to the full resources of his organization to the betterment of man. If, on the other hand, he realizes the promise shown by a few pioneers, he will succeed one day in transforming the corporation into a vital public institution worthy of the dedicated efforts of the nation's ablest citizens. No leader of men could ask for a greater opportunity. My father was an idealist, and I'm an idealist. I got this from my father, and I thank him every day for those things that he taught me. Some of his colleagues, when he would talk like this in meetings, they would smile and say, there goes David again, being an idealist. He was not driven by money, but many other people who worked with him were. And the agency he built, unfortunately, did not have at its core the values that he believed in and that are at the core of Finn Partners. So Finn Partners has been driven by purpose, and the people who said that we would be out of business in 6 months, apparently they were wrong. We're still here today. So how have things gone for us? Well, today, 12 years later, we started with 6 offices. We now have 33. We started with 150 people. We now have 1,400 people. So things seem to be going fairly well for us. And we've grown at a rapid pace. We've grown every year faster than the overall PR industry, and we will pass the 200 million mark this year or early next year. And we've won lots of awards, from Best New Agency in the year we launched, Best Agency of the Year multiple times, and Best Place to Work multiple times. So what have I learned? What are the lessons that over 46 years of being in the agency business and really just being in business, watching how other people are successful and listening to my heart and my conscience and running my business in a way that I felt comfortable with. So first, I would say that values and purpose has to be personal. It has to come from the heart. If a company says, "Well, what are the popular ideas of today, and we're going to tie into those values," it's not going to be credible. So the values and the purpose of the business have to come from the heart. 2, talk is cheap, and there's a lot of talk. We saw the video, the blah, blah, blah. If we want to be believed, we want to be credible, we have to behave in a way that is consistent with the values that we talk about. The power of no. I think all of us, on the agency side at least, and even on the client side, want to say yes. When our clients or our bosses believe in something and ask for help, we want to say yes and want to find a way to make it happen. But what I've discovered in my journey on purpose and values is it's sometimes important to say no. So there are a number of clients that we've decided we will not work with. I won't read the whole list, but it includes tobacco companies, gun manufacturers, any assignment from a company that is looking for an agency to help them counter environmental protection groups. We're not interested. We're the wrong agency for them. Clients who are actively engaged in fighting climate change, science, or regulation. Clients whose business involves extracting oil, gas, and coal, and there are others there. Every year, so there are a number of clients that we just won't work with, and there's one foreign government that we've decided we will not work with because of the human rights record. And they have a lot of money to spend, and every year they approach us and say, "We really want to hire Finn Partners. We have $1 million budget." And I take a deep breath because it's hard to walk away from $1 million. And then I say, sorry, Finn Partners is not the right agency for you. And we walk away from millions of dollars of business every year, but I know it's the right thing for us to do long term. It may be bad for us financially for the short term, but in terms of our credibility and my conscience and the conscience of all of our employees, we need to walk away from those opportunities. So that's the power of no. Some of the speakers have been talking about the political divide and about how woke has gone from being a positive description of a company that you're awake in and conscious of serious issues to it being a derogatory term. And so it's hard and dangerous to get caught in the middle of that, but my advice on that is look inside yourself, connect to your core values, and stay true to them. Understand that different people have varying points of view on these controversial issues, but speak from your heart, and you can't do better than that. So, and then related to that, the purpose landscape is constantly changing, and so what you need to do again is listen to your heart and your conscience and let your values lead you through the constantly changing landscape. On the right here, those are the Finn Partners values: work hard, play nice, create a best place to work environment, take risks, amaze, make a difference in the world, collaborate, commit to diversity. As I said, these words are up on the wall and in reception of most of our offices. Scaling community through shared values. Growth is important. Somebody was asking me over the past day whether I thought Finn Partners would continue to grow, and I said absolutely yes. The reason growth is important is all of our employees and all of you and all of your employees want to continue to grow professionally and want to continue to grow financially. We can't provide a mechanism for that unless we're growing. We have to have more revenues coming in order to offer more money and professional growth opportunities to our people. So growth is important, but there's also risk that comes with growth. And that is, it's easier to unite a team of 150 people around a set of core values than it is to unite a team of 1,400 people or 2,000 or 3,000. So this is important. This is a very big part of my job every day, is to make sure that everybody remembers our core values as we're growing. I think we'll talk about this a little bit in the Q&A, but some of you may know, many of you may not know, we've grown a lot through acquisition. Since our launch, we've made 33 acquisitions. By the end of this year, it will be 35 acquisitions. We'll do 4 or 5 more next year. We're going to continue to grow through acquisitions. It's the best way for me to bring new expertise and geographic reach into Finn Partners quickly. But the first let me say, if we make 4 or 5 or maybe 6 acquisitions a year, there are over 100 acquisition opportunities that come to me every year. We've become known as an active acquirer. One of the most important things I have to do is to make sure there's a good cultural fit. The first conversation I have with somebody interested in becoming part of Finn Partners, by our acquiring the firm, it's all about values. We do not talk about money in that first conversation. And people who approach me that want to be part of Finn Partners, they're surprised. They come prepared to talk to me about what a profitable business they are and how they're growing, the great work they're doing for their clients. And I don't want to talk about that in the first meeting. It's only about values, our values, and I want to hear about their values. And if there's not a fit, I say to them, Finn Partners is not the right place for you. So growth is important. Building a community through shared values is critical. And last, let me just say that while there are many people in business who are successful, who are not values driven, as I said, the people who told me nice guys finish last, I've discovered they were wrong. My career over the past 12 years, in a way, has been a living lab to test this idea. Can you be successful in business without being ruthless? And the answer is yes. And in fact, doing good is good for business. There have been many studies on this, but here's one statistic, that purposeful-led companies outperform the stock market by 42%. So those are my 7 lessons. I've told you my story about how I got here and how I learned these things, and I think now it is time for us to move on to the fireside chat.
You're correct, Peter. Thank you so much. Brilliantly told, great storytelling, great 7 points. Thank you. I want to invite Shipra Singh, Head of Communications for South Asia at GE Healthcare, to have a conversation. Thank you, Shipra.
Peter, hello. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I think we've had some very engaging subjects in one afternoon alone that we've been tackling. Susie, ESG, value-based leadership, the Mexican wave, and of course the flash mob. No prizes to guess which is the one which was the biggest hit. I think it would be a tie. Peter, Susie, it is the Mexican wave and the flash mob. Okay, coming back to the topic that you covered today, Peter. You've spoken in detail about the value-based leadership. And I would assume that the concept of a value-based leadership is so very important. We see most organizations talking about it. But if you look closely, how much of it is really put into action and how much of it is really value-based, blah, 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 right? So as a firm, in that context, you've seen a very impressive inorganic growth, 150 to 1,400, 6 offices to 33 offices. This has been largely inorganic, which essentially means that philosophical ideologies may or may not have been a perfect match for you right up front. And you did discuss about the first principle that you discussed while picking up a conversation on inorganic acquisitions. How have you been able to keep the tenets of value-based leadership, scaling communities through shared values alive in your company throughout?
Well, as I said, the first conversation with the firm we may be acquiring is all about values. And there have been some companies with a great reputation and very successful businesses that so Finn Partners was started by 9 founding managing partners. These are people I had worked together with for a long time at my prior agency. And we run the agency together. And so they evaluate every opportunity jointly with me. And there have been times when we would have a conversation and with the leader of a firm we're interested in acquiring. And afterwards, the founding managing partners and I would say, no way, they'll never fit in. So we're careful with the firms we decide to acquire, but it takes constant reinforcement. So I send regular emails, long emails out to all of our employees. I'm always talking about values and complicated subjects that we're all worried about or dealing with. It's my way of reinforcing the importance of values at Finn Partners.
Ever faced with a conflict? In case there are misalignments, you've acquired and it doesn't really, it's not really compatible?
Well, sometimes I have to have a conversation with one of our senior executives to remind them about work hard and play nice, because it's not necessarily their natural instinct. I don't think we've ever run into a conflict because there are no surprises for everybody. They come into Finn Partners knowing what's important to us. But again, sometimes I have to remind people about these issues.
Okay, awesome. You're in India. We have to talk about India, right? India, it's the world's largest democracy. And we are by far the fastest growing economy, right? Do you think this is going to be what they call India's century, or is it just a flash in the pan?
Well, I think India is using the phrase "India, incredible India" in its marketing promotion efforts, and it really is true. I had come to India many years ago and just came back earlier this year. This is my second time here this year, And the changes that are taking place here are amazing, but also the statistics speak for themselves. I mean, India is either the largest country in the world based on population, or is about to become the largest country in the world. It is now the fifth largest economy in the world, and within a couple of years is expected to be the third largest economy in the world, following the US and China. That is amazing. So this is not a flash in the pan. I think also the high net worth individuals, the number of high net worth individuals in India is increasing rapidly. So, and the number of people living below the poverty line, the last statistic I saw, I think was 16%. You know, in the US it's 12%. It's not that different. So I think that more and more companies are going to be looking to India as a place to sell their products or services.
I've heard this before actually. So this is one of the questions that I asked to one of my leaders, a global board member at GE, and he said, if you actually think about it, India is the flavor of the season, and that season just might last a century. Okay, moving on to the next question, Peter. One of the points that you made in your presentation, a very interesting one, was the power of no. As communicators, and I think the group would agree, we look at ourselves as problem solvers. And when we are looking at solving a problem, I think we find yes to be very empowering. You stated the contrary. Of course, you stated in the capacity of an agency. But if we were to look at it from a communicator's lens, how can we transform no to be equally empowering as yes is?
Well, for me and the context in which I shared that, it was all about being true to our conscience and not being tempted by money to take on assignments that were not consistent with our values. But I think for communicators overall, is we do have a responsibility to advise our clients or our leaders in management to do the right things. And sometimes that means saying to them, what you're saying you want to do is going to get you into trouble. So don't just say yes if your conscience tells you the answer is no. You have to be willing to take a stand and say, if you do what you are saying you want to do, this will blow up in your face. This will hurt you.
Fair enough. We'll continue to talk about communications. Now, the function really seen as an extension of marketing or a part of marketing in the context of any business. What would be your views on this topic? Do you think there are any potential synergies and a possibility for marketing and communications to exist as a single function?
So earlier in my career, PR and marketing were completely separate. The world has changed. You know, we are all getting information in so many different ways. Everything's interconnected. And if PR and marketing are not integrated, you run the risk of sending inconsistent messages. So companies will be best served by having an integrated PR and marketing campaign where all the different channels are being used together to send consistent messages. So I am a strong believer that PR and marketing need to be integrated. Finn Partners started as a traditional PR firm. That is no longer the case for us. We started with, out of our 150 people, we had one person who was a marketing person, and now we have 350 people who are marketing people out of our 1,400, and that needs to continue to grow. Eventually, half of our people will be marketing and half are PR. So I am a strong believer in integrating marketing and PR.
Very interesting. Actually, the other day, in context of the Apple ad, the corporate citizenship ad that we saw, there was a conversation that was happening in the group of CorpCom leaders. We have a WhatsApp group, just like we have a WhatsApp group for everything else. We have one for this, and we were having a conversation on whether it was more of a marketing initiative or was it a communications initiative. And there were very legitimate and valid point of views, clear synergies, overlaps, and a vision that all of the communications leaders had. At that point, I kind of realized that whether or not it was a communication initiative or it was a marketing initiative, it didn't really matter because the thought process was clearly aligned.
Right.
Continuing on, again, from talking from the scope for communications, do you think that communications has secured a seat at the decision-making table? Are we there, or is there a considerable journey that we still have to make?
Well, I think there's no question that over the past 10 years, maybe longer, that communications is much closer to the C-suite than it had ever been before. It does depend upon the individual company and maybe even the industry. But I think that communications function has made a huge amount of progress in getting recognition from the CEO and other members of management that they need to be part of the decision-making and strategy.
Okay, awesome, good to know. Something on the latest trends and technologies on which we've been hearing a lot of chatter, positive, negative, ambiguous, all of it. Chatter on AI, ChatGPT, technology trends that have the power to disrupt and also empower the way communications will shape up in the coming days. If we were to look closely, actually, communications is a business model. It's an industry in itself. It is also, before anything else, it is a skill, which is one of the things that kind of stands out because it's a skill that cannot be replaced, right? Now, today, we have in this room some of the most powerful communicators from the country. If you were to give one advice that will just change the course or help us be, help us stay ahead of the curve in light of everything that's happening in the technology space, what would that be?
Well, for those who were here for the first session this morning that was talking about AI, what we heard, which I totally believe, is that those who learn how to use AI will become more effective, better at their jobs. Those who ignore it will become extinct. So AI will replace some jobs, but we've already lost our first big pitch because we came in number 2. We had a great relationship with the client or the prospect. We had a great campaign. They loved it, but they said, the other agency was going to be using AI to accelerate the program and to fine-tune the program. It's like, okay, we need to get further ahead in this path. So what I would say is we all need to use all the technology tools that are available to us. We need to learn them thoroughly and quickly, and they will help us do our jobs better.
Finally, my last question. Very, very important, mission critical. You've come back to India after 50 years. How are you finding the country to be?
It was, my first time in India was 50 years, and I didn't come back again until earlier this year. And the transformation is amazing. When I was here, I was in the Delhi area, Delhi and Agra. When I was driving in the countryside, I was just amazed of all these apartment towers that were being built, one after another with so many cranes. The development was staggering. I've not seen that anywhere else in the world. And I have been to a lot of different places. So what I said to myself is, in 15 years, because the change is accelerating now. So I'm looking forward to seeing what India will be 15 years from now. I think it will be even more incredible than it is today.
Okay, on that note, I hope to see you again very, very soon.
Thank you.
Don't make us wait on the 50 years. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Shipra. Thanks, Peter. Thank you.
This way.
Shipra, can you just stay back? Let me pick up the microphone. Thank you.